sudden, 1 week in Instagram, I reached almost 500 million people. I think it was like 446 million people.
I mean, I won 10 and a half and another night. I beat another guy for 10. I just distinctly remember because I won like 11 million bucks.
Dan Bilzerian has carved out a reputation as the poster boy for America's most extravagant lifestyle. From his multi-million-dollar mansion and rare supercars to his lavish yacht and a constant circle of glamorous companions. Dubbed the King of Instagram with over 30 million followers, he's hailed as a self-made millionaire worth an estimated $200 million and a poker prodigy who famously pocketed $10.8 million in a single night. For many, Dan Bilzerian's life seemed to embody the ultimate American dream. But in a flash, the illusion shattered. Every post, every flashy image was nothing more than a meticulously staged act. So how skilled is Dan Bilzerian at poker, really? Where did his fortune come from? And how, exactly, did this so-called billionaire playboy claim to have made over $50 million in just 1 year at the poker table? Behind the scenes, Dan is the son of convicted corporate fraudster Paul Bilzerian, a trust fund heir to a shady fortune, wrapped in Ponzi schemes, wannabe commando antics, and a Costco-sized ego. The image of self-made success? Pure fabrication. His wealth was tied to a father with a controversial legal history, while his Ignite empire turned out to be little more than an empty shell. So what sent this poker genius from the height of fame to the depths of reality? Join us as we pull back the curtain on the story of an insecure trust fund kid who tried to build an empire on smoke and mirrors, only to become a punchline. Dan's rise to the so-called throne of Instagram began in the early 2010s, when he used the platform to flaunt a lifestyle that made millions jealous. From day one, his posts weren't casual snapshots. They were deliberate, crafted scenes designed to sell a fantasy. Picture this. A muscular, bearded Dan Bilzerian leaning on the rail of a multi-million-dollar yacht, raining cash from a helicopter, firing high-powered rifles in the Nevada desert, or throwing over-the-top parties with champagne, fireworks, and models as far as the eye can see. Every scene was carefully orchestrated to project the ultimate alpha male image, untouchable, unstoppable, living without limits. Dan knew exactly how to weaponize social media. Instagram wasn't just a gallery for snapshots. It was his stage. Each post was part of a bigger narrative, the tale of a poker prodigy and self-made entrepreneur who built a $100 million empire from the ground up. And it worked. His polished persona drew millions of admirers, especially young men. They didn't just covet his wealth, they envied the freedom he seemed to embody. No clocking in, no rules, just brains, guts, and a dash of luck to live like a king. His engagement only fueled the hype. Dan often replied to fan comments, posted relatable poker nights with friends, and offered brash life advice, making it feel like anyone could follow in his footsteps. Comments poured in, living the life we all want, or teach me your ways, Dan. But as the image became almost too perfect, small cracks started to show. Tiny details, things most people overlooked, began raising questions among the more observant followers. Conversations online took a curious turn. Was his success really built on poker skills, grit, and luck? Or was there something more to the story? As speculation grew, pieces of the puzzle started falling into place. Whispers about his father's criminal past became louder. The flawless image began to fade, replaced by a gnawing skepticism. The quiet doubts soon snowballed into a full-blown storm, dismantling the alpha male brand he'd spent years perfecting. It started with the question of money. Dan claimed to have made his fortune at the poker table, pulling in tens of millions in a few legendary nights. But in poker circles, the story didn't hold up. Pro players on Reddit and X, formerly Twitter, pointed out that his supposed big wins had no solid proof and smelled more like tall tales than tournament triumphs. One player put it bluntly, he didn't make his money from poker, period. A viral X post shared thousands of times read, Dan Bilzerian hasn't won anything major in poker. So where's the cash really from? That single question ignited a wave of curiosity. Journalists from Forbes and the Wall Street Journal began digging. They calculated the staggering costs of his lifestyle, the sprawling LA mansion, the exotic car fleet, the private jet trips, the $75,000 custom paintball arena, and even a $31,000 Star Wars gun collection. The math didn't add up for a poker career alone. Comments piled in online. No poker player spends like that without a secret bankroll. YouTube investigators like CoffeeZilla amplified the doubts, racking up millions of views while asking the same burning question. If not poker, then what? The trail led straight to another name, Paul Bilzerian. Dan's father was infamous in the financial world of the 1980s. A corporate raider who played hardball with Wall Street, Paul ended up serving time for securities fraud. According to US SEC documents, he made millions through schemes like stock parking, hiding ownership to manipulate prices, and greenmail, where he threatened hostile takeovers to force inflated buybacks. It made him rich, but also a prime target for regulators. The fallout was huge, a $180 million judgment, with over $62 million still unpaid after 3 decades. And yet, despite bankruptcy, Paul kept living in a 28,000 square foot Florida mansion. So, where did the missing $50 million go? Investigators found that Paul had quietly moved assets offshore into trusts and tax havens like the Cook Islands. The SEC suspected these hidden funds were bankrolling Dan's extravagant lifestyle. As that story hit the internet, Dan's carefully built self-made narrative collapsed. The hashtag DanBillsExposed exploded on X, with memes labeling him a pampered trust fund kid living off dirty money. One viral jab read, "Dan's not the king of Instagram. He's just his dad's marketing project." The heat intensified in 2020 when the SEC went after Ignite, Dan's own company. They accused it of faking vape sales to inflate stock prices. Audits showed the supposed transactions came from non-existent customers, shell companies allegedly created to manufacture fake revenue. And at the center of it all, the same shadowy tactics that had defined his father's career. This lawsuit was the final blow, ripping apart Dan's glamorous facade and tying him directly to his father's shady dealings. The public, once full of admiration, turned to mockery. Facing a tidal wave of backlash, Dan tried to save face with posts on Instagram and X, insisting he'd built everything from scratch and dismissing the allegations as nothing more than a smear campaign. He even sued his father and Ignite, demanding $50 million in damages for misusing his image. But the move backfired badly. The lawsuit exposed the tangled financial ties between father and son, fueling even more suspicion. Social media lit up with comments like, "Dan suing his own dad. That's rich. Who's paying the lawyers?" And "this is just a deflection." A few loyal fans defended him, but their voices were drowned out by the wave of ridicule. From the height of public adoration, Dan Bilzerian had become a punchline. The alpha male image that once inspired millions now looked hollow, built on tainted wealth and lies. But what stunned people most was what came next. Instead of confronting the accusations or making things right, Dan made a calculated pivot, launching a new venture, Sigma Society, an online dating course.